Hello, everyone out there, and welcome back to my channel. Today, the title of the message that God gave me is The Hand of God. The Hand of God. And so many people might say, what does that mean? Well, it could have several different meanings, but I'm going to say what it means to me. It means the sovereign power of God working in somebody's life, or either his creation. It also means his favor, and it also means his authority. So that means when the hand of God is upon a person's life, it will now give them the ability to do what they could not do on their own. Because if you think about in the Old Testament, throughout the Old Testament, for us, like with the prophets and the different people that God Spirit was upon them, because often it would say when the Spirit of God came upon them, power came with it. Is also power came with it. You know, the prophet Isaiah and the prophet Elijah, they did extraordinary things for God. I mean, mighty works for God that no ordinary man could do. Not only them, but several other people too. But when the Spirit of God came upon them, they was able to do what they could not do on their own. And so it's so important that we stay connected to God, especially when it comes to our callings, for whatever God has called us to do. There's no way that we can do what God has called us to do without being connected to him. And, like I'm saying, for us it's calling, because a lot of people be trying to do things on their own. There's no way that you can do things on your own and have the power of God working in your life, because see, it also means that his Spirit is upon you. That means his Spirit is resting upon you. So we have to stay connected to him. And so I want to read in St. John, the 15th chapter, the 4th and the 5th verse. And it says, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. And then I want to go to I want to go to Acts, the 17th chapter and the 28th verse. And it says, for in him we live and move and have our being. As certain also of your own prophets have said, for we are also his offspring. So it's in him that we live and move and have our being. So you have to stay connected to him. And I often think about, why is it that it's so many of us after salvation that continue, a lot of us, we continue to try to go through this life on our own. We try to work out our life on our own. And it's really something to think about, because God is there to help us. He's there to lead and guide us along this journey. But some people, they don't accept it. They don't accept the help. They want to try to do it themselves. And a lot of times it's because people are prideful. People are prideful. They want to just do it on their own. So they don't want anybody to help them. They just want to be the lone cowboy. But it's not good to be prideful at all, because what they say, pride comes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So being prideful is not good. And then it's people that really have not developed a relationship with God. And so if you haven't developed a relationship with God, there's no way that you're going to follow his leading, because you're not really all together there. And then you have the people that's they not fully committed to God. You know, they got one foot in, they got one foot out, or either they just lukewarm. And so they not all the way connected. And so there's no way that you can walk out your, like I said, there's not no way you can walk this walk independently. You have to stay connected to God. You have to put it all in his hand. You have to put your whole life in his hand. You have to submit yourself. You have to do this. You have to lay down that control. And it's so hard for people. It's so hard for people, and a lot of times it's because those reasons that I spoke about. Because you have to get to know him. You have to get to know him, and yes, it's a process. It's a process, but you have to have that mind to want to do it. He's not going to make you do it. You have to lay down. And I'm telling you, it's so much better with God. This coming from a person, I was at that point at one time, trying to do stuff on my own. It's so much better with him when you let him lead your life. When I think about all the time I wasted, so much time wasted trying to work out things on my own, it takes so much energy. It takes so much energy when you trying to work things out because your mind is steady running. Your mind is steady going. Before you can get through with one thing, your mind is on to something else. So you just trying to work it out. And then just the people that you get connected to that have, that God don't want you to be in certain relationships. You think about the directions that you might be going, and the direction is not a part of God's will. Just wasting so much time and then getting involved in things that are not going to profit you. When God can lead you exactly the way that you should go. Because ever since I let go, God has led me, I'm telling you, every step of the way up to this point, God has led my life. It has been much smoother, a much smoother ride. I'm telling you, God can take your life and make it to something so beautiful, so different, because my life is so different from what it was before. There's just a drastic change. Just a drastic change. And God have just done so much in my life. And God is real, y'all. God is so real. For the people that don't think Jesus is real, he is real. And just the fact that I'm telling people about Jesus, me of all people, he has changed my life so much. And I'm happy to tell people about him, because I want somebody to know I want somebody to get what I have gotten, and stop wasting their life on stuff that don't even matter, especially for the young people. You waste so much time because you think you know something and you really don't know anything. Once you get older, you realize that a lot of things that you thought you knew, you really didn't know. Your parents trying to talk to you, you don't want to listen, because this is a different time. It's not like in the olden times where they grew up. That's how a lot of kids are. But if you would listen to what I'm saying, I'm telling you, God can make your life into something so beautiful. So beautiful if you will let go. You have to let go, like I said, and you have to put your life into his hand. I just remember when I first got saved, and I just would think about me being in God's hand. And so a lot of times I would just look at my hand a lot. I guess symbolically, like I'm in your hands, God. Just all the time. I'm telling you, it's the best place to be. Right in his hand. And so I want to also talk about the book of Judges. Go to the book of Judges. The 13th through the 16th chapter talks about Samson. Now Samson, like when I'm talking about the hand of God being upon somebody. In the story of Samson was raised up to be a deliverer for Israel. See, because at that time they were being afflicted by the Philistines, because they went in cycles. They would obey. As long as a judge was over them, they would be obedient. But once the judge was gone, they went right back to their same old ways. And so they would cry out to God. Then God, because of his grace and mercy, would send someone to deliver them. And so now it talks about Samson. So Samson, Even from his birth, he was a special child, because before his birth, his mother was burned. She could not have a child. And so an angel visited her, and he told her that she was going to have a child, and that this child was to be separated from birth. For us, it was going to be separated. He was going to be a Nazarite. And see, a Nazarite is just simply an Israelite that was set apart to be consecrated unto God. And consecrated means set apart for the use of God. And so the angel also told her that she had to be on a special diet. So she couldn't eat or drink certain things. And also she was told that his hair could not be cut. And so Samson was different, like I said, from birth. And also the hand of God was on him so strong that it endowed him to have the power. The power was tremendous physical strength he had. So it was not like a normal man. God gave him supernatural power, and it was needed for the assignment that God had given him. Because as I said, he was raised up to destroy the Philistines. It said he would begin to destroy him. So he was not going to be able to destroy all of them, but he was going to begin to destroy them. So he caused damage to them, a lot of damage. He killed a lot of them. And so Samson too, when you think about Samson was so strong. Samson was a one-man army. That means God had put the strength of an army in one man. How amazing is that? So that's how strong he was. And so I want to read a little bit about Samson, starting in the 13th chapter, the 1st through the 7th verse, and then I want to skip over to the 15th chapter, 11 through the 15th verse. And it's just showing what happens when the hand of God is upon somebody. Anything can happen. And so, let me go to the 13th chapter of Judges. And for anyone that is new to this channel, I read out of the King James Version. And it says, "And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not." As I said, she was barren and she could not have a child. "And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine, nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death." And so she was repeating what the angel told her to her husband. And so eventually the angel did appear to the husband also, and he let him know the same thing that he had told her. That Samson was to be a special baby from birth. He was going to be set aside for the use of God. And so Samson actually, I want to say also that Samson ruled Israel for a total of 20 years, but during those 20 years, Samson got off. And Samson, actually, he fell in love with the enemy by the name of Delilah, because Delilah was a Philistine. And so, as they say, love is blind. And so, I guess, like I said, he could not see that she was not for him at all. She was not in love with him. It says that he loved her, but it was obvious that she did not love him back. And so she got him to the point where she wore him down because she was trying to find his strength so they could destroy him. And so she kept talking to him about where his strength was, and he kept playing games, and eventually she wore him down, and he told her that his strength was in his hair. And you know, it said from the beginning that his hair could not be cut. So eventually his hair was cut. And it caused him to be disconnected from God because the strength was in his hair. And so that was his connection to God. And once he disconnected, he was separated from God for a minute. But eventually he began to pray. And God, it says, as soon as they cut his hair began to grow back. But I want to read in that chapter, I want to read in that 15th chapter, 11 through the 15th verse. When I talk about the strength of Samson. And it says, then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock, Etam, and said to Samson, knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And so they did not even know, the people of Judah, they did not even know that God had raised Samuel up to destroy the Philistines. And they were just seemed like they was content with them being under the Philistines. And so that 12th verse says, and they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee. So they wanted to deliver Samson to the enemy. So they said, in order for him, to protect themselves. And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. So Samson was extremely strong. And at the end of his life, actually Samson, he prayed to God. God heard his prayer. And I want to read on down that little bit at the end, because he told God that he wanted to avenge him for his 2 eyes, because they had put his eyes out. And I want to go down to that 28th verse in that 16th chapter. It says, and Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might. And the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. And so he went out, and even when his death, he took them out. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about Samson. Because in the hand of God, what it say? Little becomes much when you put it in the master's hand. And so I just wanted to encourage you to put your life into his hands. Put your life into his hands. All your problems, everything, put it in his hands. And that's what he wanted me to tell you today. So be encouraged. Amen. Bye bye for now.